Alright everybody, we have here, this is a complete cocktail game, Space Invaders. I don't know if it's Space Invaders Part 2 or Space Invaders. I think it's just Space Invaders. But what we have here is the board set. And I guess the report on this was the monitor was kind of wonky. Didn't look very good. So I got the chassis here. And it's a weird Japanese monitor. I don't yet know what it is. We'll find that out. So I'm just going to cap the chassis, go over it, make sure all the solder's good on that. It was working, it just didn't look great. And the problem with cocktail games is the tube is in with the gun down, pointing up. So any kind of crud or whatever, I'm not, it's a vacuum, so no dust. Shouldn't be. Maybe there's phosphor dust that falls off of the tube or whatever, collects down on the gun and can really affect the picture quality. And the only way to really fix that is to hook a tester rejuvenator on it and just use the clean function and clean the guns a little bit. Obviously I can't do that. I don't have the tube, and I don't even know if I've got this weird little socket, to be honest, for the tube. So all I can do, recap this, redo all the solders, and that's really all I can do on that. Here we have the power supply, which the power supply can be recapped. And once again, go over all the solders, kind of inspect all of this. Yeah, this thing is pretty much all original. There's no reflowing or resoldering of any of this stuff. So we'll replace the caps, and like I said, the power was actually working, but it just needs to be refurbed. So we're going to do that. And then the board set was not functioning. It was just kind of garbage on the screen, not really doing anything. So we'll have to repair this board set here. Yeah, this is the Taito 3-board stack Space Invaders. And yeah, so we will go through and we'll recap everything. And it looks like 1, 2, 3, 4 of the 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. What is this? That is not an amp, I don't think. This might be another amp. There might be 8 amps on this thing. No, that's not an amp. I don't know. I don't remember what this chip is. But anyway, there's 7 amps on here. It looks like 3 of them or 4 of them have been socketed and replaced. So we'll just go ahead and replace the last 3 and socket them. So all of these will be socketed. We'll check the solders on everything, and we'll go from there. So first thing I'm going to do is just the refurbing stuff. Is the recapping and checking all the solder joints, cleaning these things up really good and making sure that they're really good to go, good connections, not going to be an issue. So we'll do that first, and then we will tackle this board. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make a cap kit for this. And generally I don't buy in cap kits, I buy in caps, and I have them in stock. So I'll just go through, write down the locations and the cap values that are actually in here and put them on a sheet, and then I'll go through and just remove all the caps. And what I like to do on a cap kit is I like to verify the caps. After I'm doing these, after I pull off the old caps, I like to go through them and find out how many of them are open. Because generally what I find are caps, electrolytics don't generally short. They generally go open. So that's what I want to, I like to just put my capacitor tester on it and check them all out. And then you can also see if the ESR is way out of whack. See if I have a 220 microfarad cap or something like that, and I test it and it says it only reads like 150 mics or something like that. Then I like to take my ESR meter and put it on, and they're usually up like 50 ohms of ESR. So they're really leaky caps. They're either open or they're very leaky. And I just like to, as an exercise, go through and check all the caps. That's just kind of what I like to do. So I'm going to go ahead, do this. I'll probably do a time lapse, speed up the video so you're not really bored. But yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and let the camera go and start doing these. All right. Let me mute the TV. Watching westerns. All right. I got them all cataloged. The weird thing is this cap right here, this great big cap. This one says 10 microfarad at 25 volts, bipolar. It's a bipolar cap, but it's huge, and it says 10 volt or 25 volts. 10 microfarad. That's weird to me. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and remove all of these caps now, and I'll speed up through that. All right, I'll see you in a bit. Now I know you're thinking, why am I not using my desoldering gun? Well, I just had to order a heating element for my gun because it's no good. So I had to go on Hako USA's website and order a new heater element to go in it. And I ordered a new tip, so it will be like new when I get it back. But yeah, the heater element needed to be replaced. So that's why I'm doing it this way, which it's old school, but hey, it is what it is. All right, back to it. Okay. Well, it looks like all of the caps have been removed. Boy, this solder is not... I'm really going to have to go over this solder good on this thing. Okay, turn that off. You know what I want to do before I turn that off is some fresh solder on this thing. Now turn it off. Be good to the tip. Alright, next thing we're going to do... Oh. Yep. Okay, next... Oh, I missed one. I missed this one right here. I have a feeling we're going to have some epically bad caps. Ah, come on. I will say, the desoldering gun makes this a lot easier. But anyway, okay, there's that one. Now we've got them all removed. I just put in the order for the desoldering gun today, so it's going to be a little bit. But the show must go on, you know. So there we are. I'm sure I missed clearing some of these, and I'll have to do a better job on some of them. It's all good. So let me get my equipment here for testing capacitors. Okay. And let's kind of come in a little bit. You want to? Let's come in here a little bit. And a little bit like that. And maybe in a little bit more. Maybe I can turn the power on. And there's no light on this. But hey, that's good. You can see it plenty good. So, let's start with this 10 microfarad and see what this thing reads. Bipolar, and it looks like it was leaking some crud. It's 9.4. It's not bad. So the ESR is probably pretty good. It's probably should be about 10 microfarad, 25 volts, about an ohm and a half. And it's not even that, it's 0.03. So this is actually okay. And I'm going to hang on to this cap in case I can't find anything like this, because that's a weird one. Here is a 330 at 25. And I need to move the scale. And it's drifted a little high, which means it's probably, ESR is probably fine. Yeah, 0.07. So that's okay. What I'm going to do is put them back where they came from after I'm done with them. This one is a 100 microfarad. 25 volts. And this one also drifts a little high. I'm not even going to bother with the ESR, it's fine. And here we have another 100. If they drift a little bit high, the ESR is going to be fine. Like this one. This one's fine. Just to prove that, go ahead and hook it up to the ESR meter, and it says 0.23, 100 microfarad, 25 volts. It can go all the way up to 0.5, and it's at 0.23. So, fine. This one is a 1000 microfarad. And drifts a little bit high. That's going to be fine. Here is another 100. And that one's fine. 220. And that one's going to be fine. Here is a 10 high voltage cap. And it's reading 15. So it's probably fine, and we'll check the ESR. And it says 0.68, which it can go all the way up to 3 ohms and be within tolerance. So that one, it's fine. Here's a 1 microfarad at 450 volts. 1. Change the scale. And it says 1.24, which that's going to be fine. Just for good measure. 15 ohms, which 1 at 250 volts allows 20 ohms, so that one is a-okay. Here is a 47. And that's drifted pretty high to 63, and it's probably fine here. Um, 47, yeah, that's fine. And these are probably 20%, I would say. Here's a 33. And that one's up to 44. Which probably, that's fine. Here's another 100. And that one's fine. Here is a 10. And that one's fine. Okay. This one's 1. And 1.2, that's fine. This one is 4.7. And that's fine. 6.7. Here is a 1. 1.2. Here is a 47. That's fine. Here is a 2.2. That's okay. Here's a 22. And it's up to 25. That's fine. 47. 60. That's good. And this one is a 10. That's fine. And that's a 1. And that's fine. These all test okay. But they might, I mean, it's possible they could break down a little bit. They look like, some of them look like they've been leaking some crud. So, yeah. Especially like this one. Unless that's something else that's gotten onto the board. Yeah. But we're going to go ahead and replace all of these, and I'll be right back. Okay, the monitor has been capped, and I went through and reflowed anything that looked suspect. There wasn't really much on there. I did have a 10 microfarad at 50 volt bipolar, so I put that in right there. And it's got some sticky flux nonsense. I don't want to really get too nuts with cleaning that stuff off of here because I don't want to ruin this. This is a Toei GM-140 TV. And yeah, I cannot test this because I don't have anything. I don't have a monitor. I don't have anything for this. I don't have the tube and all that stuff, so. Yeah. Is this where the power plugs in, I wonder? That's probably a power plug, or is that... Where's the input to this go? I don't see any more plugs. All I see is this plug. So where does the power plug in? Weird. That I don't know. Oh, there's something. There's the earth ground. Yeah, I don't know. Weird. No idea. This looks like the only plug I see on this thing. I would have no idea where the input plugs into this. Is it black and white or is it color? If it's a black and white, there's going to be a video signal, ground, and then AC in. And looks like ground and AC in maybe. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how. Oh, here's a plug right here too. So there's a plug as well. That might be the yoke plug. See, this thing's weird. I just don't know anything about this. But we got it capped. So we're going to move on, and I'm going to do the same process. I'm going to cap that power supply. And then we'll look at those caps. Okay, so here is the power supply. I did not replace these. Basically because I really need my desoldering gun to remove these. They're 3 lug caps. But I was able to remove and replace the others. These are 4700, 25 volts. I've just got, you can see I got a physical lock, and then they're soldered on the ground. That's the ground lead on both of them. So yeah, they're just locked and soldered. And then I reflowed the solder on these, and I did find a couple looking like cold solder joints, so I reflowed all of those and cleaned it really good. So, and I checked all of the other solder, and this thing does have voltage regulators that I could replace, and I might do that later. Before I send this back, I might replace the voltage regulators. I will do that, but I really, boy, I could do that without my desoldering gun. I'm gonna go ahead and do that, and then this one's going to be tough to get out without removing this. Yeah, I might have to wait on this one, as I really need these removed to get to that screw. I might be able to get to it, I don't know, we'll see. But yeah, I can replace those. There's a 12, negative 12, and negative 5. So I can go ahead and replace those guys. Yeah, after trying to get to these screws, it's really difficult with these in the way. This one is in the way of this one, and they're in the way of this one. So I am just going to wait, hold off on that. I do want to replace those, just not right now. So once I get these guys out of the way, it'll be a lot easier to get to them. And that'll do it. Then I'm going to have to find out a way. I need to test this. I don't know. I'll worry about all that later. It was working before, so I don't really need to test it. It was working. It'll work again. It'll just have new caps and regulators. Okay, so I went ahead and put the board set on the bench and separated everything. And I hooked it up to the color monitor, the G07, and there's just a blank screen. There's nothing, no video at all. And I was like, okay, that's kind of weird. It's just completely dead. I started probing around on this thing, and I'm seeing activity on the pins. I mean, it looks good. Looks like it's running. So I was like, well, let's check the black and white video. Black and white goes through this cap. And here it is going into the cap. And here it is going out of the cap. Okay. Right there. And it's right here. This is the video going to the monitor. And it looks like it don't look good, but that's because of the trigger. If I moved the trigger down, it would look like this. So that looks like a good video signal. So I switched over to black and white on my setup and put it to the black and white monitor. And here it is, just fine. So I'm actually going to play a game and check the sounds out and all that, but the color does nothing. So let's hook this thing up to the tripod and play this and see if our controls and sounds are all working, and then we'll have to diagnose, because that's a color monitor. I think that's a color monitor that this is in. This thing should have the color should work on this. So I'll go ahead and first off, I can check that looks great, looks perfect. So we'll just go ahead and check all of the sounds and whatnot. So let's do that. Okay. So here we go. Let's go ahead and try this thing out. Here's a ground. That's on free play. Here we go. Alright, I don't hear anything. I can definitely check the volume. I guess I should make sure the speakers are hooked up. They are. There's no sound. Controls work, but there's no sound. Okay, well so we have a couple of issues to get through. Now this does have a multi-game braze kit on it. So we've got no sounds and we've got no color video. And I don't even know if this is a black and white monitor on this thing or not. That Toei monitor, I'm going to have to do a little research and find out, is that black and white? Is this a black and white game? Maybe they don't have color proms in it. I don't know. We'll have to look at that. But yeah, so we're going to investigate why there's no color output and no sound. Okay, let's get to it. Detective time. Okay, I was getting ready to do some poking around on this thing, and I've got it running, and it seems to keep going back to this. I don't think it's supposed to do that. So this thing maybe is resetting. This thing has ink covering almost all of these chips. So I can't just go around poking around and testing what I wanted to just go through and just start poking around on this and testing. But I can't tell what chips are what because of this ink. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some lacquer thinner and I'm going to remove the ink off of all of these chips. Except for these. I know what these are. See, these got ink on them too. You know, Taito trying to be sneaky. So I'm going to go ahead, clear off all these chips, and then I can poke around knowing what the chips are without getting a schematic. I don't want to get into the schematic just yet if I don't have to. So the no sound problem, I'm thinking, is probably the amp. Dead amp, I would imagine. But before I go replacing the amp, and I can't do it anyway right now because I'm waiting on my my Hakko desoldering gun. I had to buy a new heater element, so I'm waiting for that to show up so that I can put that in my desoldering gun. I can't really desolder anything, and I'm kind of in limbo right now until that shows up because I'm not going to destroy anything trying to remove chips or solder with that. This thing's a piece of crap that I got. You know, that thing doesn't work very good either. I need to get a new one of those for backup. And yeah, so yeah, this thing right here doesn't, see that? It don't stay, and it barely comes back up. And I've cleaned it. I have no idea what's up. It really belongs in right there, but I'm holding on to it for now. So I'm going to go ahead and take this thing apart, get this board off of here, and clean these chips off. Then I'm just going to do some basic probing around on the board. And then we'll go from there. And if I don't see anything that just sticks out at me, then we'll have to go to the schematic, and because I don't even know where the video signals come through. This looks like the analog conversion section, and it doesn't look as if, well, wait a minute. The CPU board might have the color proms. And the CPU board is right here, I think. So I'll go ahead and have to look at that. And yeah, because I don't see any bipolar ROMs on here. This is a different version of this board, it seems to be. So yeah, I don't know. Well, yeah, I want to go ahead and do that anyway, is remove the ink off of these. Boy, these are a little toasty, some of them. I do want to find the color palette ROMs. Those could be, and make sure that they're getting addressed and all that. So I'm going to do that first. Let's find those color palette ROMs. Okay, well, this is interesting. This is where the color palette ROMs would be, right here. So this is obviously a black and white only monitor. Yeah, here's your addressing bits. And these are where the output bits would be. Yeah. Yep. The output bits would be here, 4 bits. So there's no color palette, so there is no color. This is a black and white only set. Okay. So that solves that. This thing seems to keep jumping back to test, and I don't know what that is all about. I don't know how this thing gets into test, to be honest with you, in the first place. Is it both player 1, player 2 start buttons? Don't know. Hang out here for a second and see if this thing jumps back. To test. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Seems to be working fine. I don't know why it was doing that. Who knows? Anyway, yeah, this is a black and white only, so we don't have to worry about color on the monitor anymore. So yeah, we just got a sound issue. So we'll flip this back over, get access to that soundboard, and I do want to go ahead and dang, I need to remove that amp. I can't. So I might have to put this on hold until I get my desoldering gun parts. Yeah, I had to and I just recently bought a bunch of stuff to rebuild this, and I didn't buy one of these because that back of it just fell out. This thing's trash. So I bought a new element, heater element, and once that shows up, put it back together. And I bought a new tip too. I bought a new element and a new tip, and this thing will be basically like a new desoldering gun again. So yeah, I think I bought a pack of filters. Every time I order from Hako, I buy a pack of filters. And yeah, filters, element, and a tip. It was like $80. Yeah, but you gotta have it. Can't do it without it. So I'm going to put this on hold. I'm not going to even mess with that thing without the proper tools. And yeah, we'll get back to it when that stuff shows up. Okay, I figured out the no sound issue. I had to put another line in my harness. It didn't have power. The amp wasn't powered up, so there was no sound. Sound works perfect. Every sound works perfect. The issue that we're having is right here. This thing, if you just touch this, this game will reset, and sometimes it doesn't even boot. Sometimes it just kind of has some static garbage on the screen. Not really static garbage, but it kind of cycles through a couple garbage screens and then it'll stop. This thing, I removed it. The way it's on here, if I can, it doesn't even sit in here properly. It's sideways. Now you can kind of move these a little bit like this, but that's as far down as they'll go. And then this goes like this. And I guess, yeah, it is sitting in there right, but it's kind of, I just don't like how this is. If you just mess with this thing at all, the game will reset. And I really don't care about this socket. This is all getting replaced anyway. What's going to happen is I'm going to replace these caps. I'm going to replace this one right here because this is one of the magic exploding tantalums. As you can see, it's a 16 volt tantalum and there's 12 volts on that line and they just die. I've had multiple times that cap right there just flame out. So I'll replace that with an electrolytic and I'll lay it down. And then I'm going to replace all of these with smaller caps that'll be closer to the board. We can lay these down. These little caps right here can just be pushed and laid down. I'm going to remove this socket because this work is really needs to be looked at. There's a couple jumper wires back here and I just want to clean that up. So I'm going to remove this socket, put a new machine pin socket in there, and I'm going to remove this socket that's on here because this has got good machine pin headers, I believe. Yeah, it does. And those will fit nicely into a machine pin socket right here. But this stuff has to be flattened out and moved so that, and these two right here as well have to be changed to nice 0.1 caps that'll go flat to the board so that that'll fit on there right. And that should eliminate the flaky resets and stuff. Yeah, this needs to be gone through. As you can see, it's got a lot of, it's kind of messy work. So once I get my desoldering gun put back together, I'll get to that. I think I'm kind of done for a day or two because I cannot remove that without a good desoldering gun. So, alright, I'll be back. Alright, getting back to this Space Invaders, I was able to get the new heater element put into my gun, and there's the old junk one. And remove this socket. And this is the reason why this thing resets. Look at this. So I'm going to have to clean this up and fix it properly. I'll go over under the microscope and I'm going to go ahead and remove all those caps that I said I would have to remove and go from there. We'll get this thing looking and working right. Okay, so I got it all cleaned up, and you can see where there was a Dremel used to cut the socket off or something. You can see where they cut through traces. Yeah, it's pretty ugly. And the back side is also cleaned up. Yeah. Yeah. Nice. That trace is broken. Lots of broken traces. That's broken right there on those two. Yeah. A lot of repair work to do. So I'll do that over at the microscope and then come back and show you once it's all done. Okay, so I've got this thing done up and cleaned up.
Your wife and I are what you might call friends, Kelly. Real good friends. Hattie? Why do you think she married you? We had it planned a long time. And don't forget I'm in for a third of that ranch. I see. With me up, the ranch will go to her, won't it? That's how the law reads. How come you don't just put a bullet in me? Because this way nobody suspects nothing.
Oops.
You just got lost and died out here. It happened easy to an old man like you. You rotten dog.
Not going to be able to use a I'm not going to be able to use the socket that I wanted to use because some of these are just, well, I might be able to. I'll try, but I doubt it. But let me grab one and see if it'll fit down in there, the machine pin socket. Alright, well actually I was able to fit a machine pin socket down in there. Soldered it in, cleaned, and tested all the connections, and all of the connections are good. So now I'll just refill in these, you know, lower to surface parts, and then this thing will fit right into there. I'll remove this socket, and this thing should fit right into there, nice and snug. No more connection issues. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, there it is. You got your 22 microfarad cap laid down, and then all of those axial 0.1 microfarad 50 volt caps, and good to go. So now this will go right into this. So let's put that in there and then give it a shot, test it out. There you go, perfect fit. Perfect fit. So we'll go ahead and put this thing back together now and fire it up. Alright. Looking good. Got it all hooked up. And it's looking good. It's on Space Invaders. And I think what I will do is put a score on it and then just let it run. Make sure it doesn't reset. So, alright, let me set this up on the tripod, be right back. Okay, here we go. Where is the start buttons? Here we go. Start. All the sounds are present, so that's all good. Come on. Dang it. All right. 990 points. Yeah. No more touching this thing and it resets. You know. Yeah, so I'm just going to let this thing run now. And that's going to do it for this one. So I rebuilt. Okay, this was a refurb. Redoing that work. That was the only thing that was wrong with this. Was it you touch this, it would reset. It just wasn't a good connection. Had to rework it. Good to go. And remember the power supply here. I rebuilt, but I need to finish this actually. I need to remove the regulators and switch out the regulators, and I will do that. I'm going to reuse these caps. I'm not replacing these caps, but I need to remove them so that I can remove these. And I recapped that monitor chassis, remember. So I'm going to go ahead, take care of this off camera. I'm going to remove these caps. And then I can get to these regulators, replace the regulators, reinstall the caps. This will be good to go. And then that'll do it. What are these? Yeah, they're big can caps, snap caps. Those generally seem to be okay. So anyway, yeah, that's what I'm going to do on this. And then, since I don't have the transformer, I don't have stuff to plug this in, I can't really test this stuff. It worked, it just needed to be refreshed. So I'll do that. The monitor's done. And the board's done now. Yeah, so I'll go ahead and take care of that stuff. No need to film that. And I'm just going to go ahead and end this one here. Alright guys. Hope you enjoyed. And we'll see you all on the next Classic Arcade Repair. And shout out to all of the Patreons. Of course, thank you all. And if you haven't, I did turn on memberships for YouTube. If you want to support the channel and you just don't like Patreon for whatever reason, you can also support through YouTube memberships. Alright guys, thank you. And we'll see you all on the next Classic Arcade Repairs. Bye for now.